Good evening to anyone who is an It Starts Monday member. Obviously watching this is my preview really of the forthcoming workshop, which is on the 15th of February. That's Tuesday night at 6 p.m. The workshop is exclusive to members only, and this is from me as a life coach and NLP practitioner. And the workshop is going to be around turning the boat around. Okay, so some of us have had to do this a few times. Some of us, if our life is very consistent and goes in one straight line, which I don't believe there's many of us out there listening to this that actually lived that lifestyle, may never have had to turn around. But I think that you understand what I mean. It's when you know that life has maybe drifted off course and things have got difficult, they've got challenging, and then maybe we recognize that we have something to do with the fact that it's not going as well as we would like it to. So at that point we realize, right, we need to make some changes and we need to turn this around and we need to send ourselves off in a better direction. Before I tell you what the workshop will entail and the sort of things that we're going to be discussing that evening, I wanted to tell you about a personal account of how I feel that I was able to turn the boat around. And that came, it must be about 16, 17 years ago now. And I remember that I'd been busy with work, and then I had a period where actually it dried up, to be honest. It was right in the middle of, I think, when I'd split up from Jade, the boy's mum. And I remember how I needed to probably find a job. I needed to do something outside of the TV industry. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be able to pay my bills one month. So what I had to swallow in those moments were my pride, my ego, because I think that I felt that I was, whether I was becoming a presenter or whether I was a reality TV star or whatever these labels that we like to kind of, you know, stick above us, above the door to kind of let us know who we are and what we do in life. Yeah, the truth is I had to swallow a lot of that and just basically say, well, I know what I've done, but I know what I need to do. And what I need to do is something completely different, something that I think is, you know, something I don't really want to do. But I remember my friend and on that day, I basically spoke to him and said, have you got anything? He basically run a company, did masticing and, you know, knew people within the building trade. And he said to me, actually, there's a new warehouse that's just been built. The floor has just been screed. He said it's the size of a football pitch, this place, probably bigger. And what we need, Jeff, is someone to drive the floor cleaning vehicle backwards and forwards, like you're cutting the grass on that football pitch. But we need you to pretty much do that continuously all day. It will take all day to do it, and it always needs to be clean for health or safety reasons. So I agreed to do that. I remember the lads on the building site in Waltham Abbey, I think a lot of them, they didn't know whether to shake my hand or whether to laugh at me and take the piss, basically. Either way, it was what it was. I remember just sort of getting on with it. And up I went backwards and forwards all day, just getting on with it. And it was interesting because I did that for 2 weeks. And then it was at the end of that, actually, that my fortune seemed to change. Unrelated, really, to the job that I'd just done. But I remember getting a phone call from the agent to say, something great's coming, the X Factor tour, 50 dates. You know, it's worth a good couple of quid and it'll keep you busy for the next couple of months. Plus, they're happy for you to take the kids with you. So that for me was the start of, I think, you know, what has, I guess, sustained me for the 16, 17 years since. And when I look back and think, you know, was that a coincidence? I prefer to think that it wasn't. I prefer to think that because I swallowed that ego and pride, because I did what needed to be done, I think the universe, I'm a believer in the law of attraction, we'll talk about that in the workshop. I think that it basically looked at that behaviour and was like, well, you deserve an opportunity. You've earned it. So I like to think that that was me earning the right to get an opportunity. And obviously it was up to me whether I took that opportunity or not. And again, funnily enough, for having that experience of working on that site and going backwards and forwards, quite monotonous, quite lonely. But you can appreciate that when I got that next job, doing something that I did want to do, that I made sure that I was extra professional, and that there was absolutely no question of whether I was there to do a good job or not. So it's a story I've enjoyed telling the kids over the years, and probably repeated it once or twice, but it's that just when you think you're too good for something, or there's something you don't want to do, or you only want to do things that are comfortable for you, that's when I think doing the most undesirable acts and putting yourself out and doing something that you think is going to be rubbish or boring, I think often what you're doing is you're proving to yourself that you can do whatever it takes to get the job done. Sometimes, for other people that might represent going for certain jobs, feeling like that job's beneath you, but actually, I'm going to do it because the experience might be invaluable. I think we should always be prepared to be surprised by what can come out of something that we didn't fancy, because do we really know what's best for us? I don't think we do. I think we make it up. I think we have an idea of what's best for us based on what has worked for us in the past. But unless your life's perfect and you're with the woman or the man of your dreams, and you've got X amount in the bank, whatever you perceive to be success, then actually if you haven't cracked it to that extent, then we don't really know what's best for us just yet. We might have a good idea and we might be right to much of an extent, but I always think that being out of your comfort zone, and trying things that don't actually add up and make sense, and just being a little bit more about, I'm going to try, I'm going to have a go, I'm going to experiment, I'm going to explore what that is, where it takes us. I think that openness to fate and to the universe basically giving us more of the same. I think that's a big part to play in how we turn our personal boat around. So there's a lot of other elements, I'd say. I'm just going to sort of go through a little list that I made earlier, but not in any particular order. I appreciate there probably is a strategy, but again, the workshop on Tuesday night, we'll talk about accountability, because I owned my situation. I took responsibility for the fact that, well, look, these bills ain't going to get paid unless I do something about it. So because of that responsibility, again, I think that's when things, that represents a turn, and that represents us taking control of the situation, which I think is absolutely imperative, because if we're relying or waiting on anybody else to take care of us, or if we're waiting for apologies from people, or if we're waiting for someone to change their behaviours or attitudes, then I think we could be waiting a long time. And either way, I think we know that, and sometimes that's why we will wait for others, is because that's a way really of us just being able to delay the discomfort that change can sometimes create. I think as a coach, I know very well that making a plan of action and actually identifying the next steps are really important, but also sort of in reverse of that, I think it's very important for us to sit down and identify the behaviours that we're taking that are not actually serving us any purpose, that are not doing us any good whatsoever. I think it's good to establish a why as well. Why are we doing these things that are not good for us, and why would we do the things that we're proposing in order to create that change, to turn that boat around? I think it's always really important to have, that's our motivation, if you like. Motivation is a key word as well, because I don't think that comes before the action that we need to take to create change. I think sometimes that is something that will actually come after the change, because then it makes you feel motivated to do more of what you've just done, which is inevitably to show courage. And again, it's another key word that we would discuss on Tuesday night. There are lots of ways to create habits and to sustain habits. So creating a pact with others, I'm a big advocate, and you know this, guys, through your It Starts Monday membership, is that when you feel like you're a part of something, when you're accountable to somebody else and you don't want to let someone else down, well, a lot of us will let ourselves down all the time, but we won't let that other person down. And if that's the difference between doing it or not, letting ourselves down or not, then obviously that's a really powerful tool for us to use, isn't it? A lot of us don't reward successes enough, and I think to reward your achievements, no matter how small they are, is a really important thing to do. And I say how small because I think that your habits and your proposals should be small at first, because otherwise, if they're too grand, it's like, if we're talking about running an exercise, if we're saying, right, I'm going to run a half marathon tomorrow, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because there's a big chance that you won't do it and a small chance that you will. So why don't you do something like I'm going to run for 10 minutes. And it sounds like, 10 minutes, that's not a lot. But the truth is that you're going to do it. And then the next day you're going to do 12. And then the day after that, you're going to do 15. And that, it's a similar premise to Couch to 5K. When you build up gradually, it means that every day you're going to win. And because you win, guess what? You stick with it. And that habit, as we know, which takes quite a long time to actually make like a concrete reflex for us. We need to be able to get through the weeks, don't we? As opposed to, if we go Johnny Big Bananas, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it for this amount of time. Then actually, we really are probably looking at a couple of days at best, and then we're just going to go straight back to heading in the same direction. That boat is just going to be going in the same way, and you didn't turn anything around. Changing our thought process is vital. And I think in order to do that, we have to, again, identify what it is that we're thinking, what narrative, what story are we continuously telling ourselves that is creating the direction that the boat has been heading in all this time. And actually, what can we replace these things with? Language as an NLP practitioner is really important to me. I love tinkering with people's language, because very often we use the words can't, shouldn't, won't, should, which applies pressure. And actually, there are a far more kind words and descriptives that we can use that will help us. So we'll be talking about that on Tuesday night as well. I think no one's going to turn their boat around unless they're able to show an element of forgiveness and humility. And that's whether that's with others or whether that's to ourselves. Yeah, we might have messed up last week or last year, or we might have let ourselves go. We might feel a bit of shame around some of our behaviours and the way that we appear right now, the way that we act sometimes, the mistakes that we've made. The truth is that when you're carrying those things, you're less likely to be able to turn that stuff around. So we need to talk about forgiveness as well. A big lesson I've got to pass on the night will be about action and how different that is to motion. Now, it's action that turns that boat around. Motion and talking about making action, writing lists, that sounds great on paper, but ultimately that's all it'll ever be. In order to create change, we have to actually change behaviours, and that means we have to take an action. So again, we'll have identified previously what the right action for us to take is. We'll have planned when to do it, how to do it, who to do it with, how to prepare for that to make sure that we eliminate the risk of not feeling like it on the day, or just anything that could come in and kind of ruin our plans and stop us from doing what it is that we propose to do. But we absolutely have to be able to follow through with the things that we say we're going to be able to, because that's a great feeling. When you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to run 5K, and you do it, the next day you feel great because you're in alignment with yourself. And being in alignment with ourselves is something that is, I think, a really important conversation. And if we are in that, centered within ourselves, and we're doing what we say we're going to do, then there's absolutely no reason why our boat can't be sailing in whatever direction we want it to. Talking and sharing is massive. I know you guys appreciate this very well as well, but to obviously be able to talk about it, and that's why you joined the workshop in the first place, to share, just like I did my story at the top of this video. These things are really important as well, and that's going to help us to explore our situation. Because a lot of the time we're kind of looking at a problem and it's right in front of us. It's not until we actually separate the problem and kind of are then able to see what's good, what the opportunities are, what the options are, how we can go about things, and how we can actually make that thing not disappear necessarily, but just reduce it and make it more manageable and focus on other things that are more important. So look, there are lots and lots of things for us to discuss about what it takes to be able to turn ourselves around, to be able to make a better go of it, to be able to right our wrongs, to be able to create lessons out of mistakes. But we're all human, and all of your mistakes and all of your experience in life is absolutely your foundation to be able to make better decisions moving forwards. And that's what I'm here to help you do, to access the best version of yourself and to start where we are ultimately. And it's these things that I've been talking about that we're going to discuss in the workshop on Tuesday night, 6 p.m. I really hope, guys, that you can join me for that. And as you can see, there's a lot of details, a lot of preparation gone in, and I promise it will be worth your while. And I can't wait to see those that attend, and obviously hear your feedback afterwards to be able to see if you've incorporated any of it and what difference it's made for you. But this could be what you need. And if you think that it's worth a go and worth an hour of your time, then I look forward to you joining me. All right, guys, take care. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you soon. See you on Tuesday night.